Hello, it's Davy Mooney coming to you from the University of North Texas, where I run the jazz guitar program. Benedetto artist, Sunnyside Records artist. Got the new Sunnyside record mixed and mastered. It sounds great. Y'all recorded it down in Brazil. I think the best stuff on that record is the best stuff I've ever done. And I got my Mel Bay books, including the brand new Into the Labyrinth, An Anatomy of Position Playing for Jazz Guitar. And we're still in the semester here. It's late October. Don't know when you'll see this video. And man, I've been fighting this bronchial thing for weeks now, which has not been too much fun. But we had our 75th anniversary. I made it out for that. What else? Lots of stuff going on. But today I actually wanted to talk about a very famous Tom Jobim song called Corcovado, known in English as Quiet Nights of Quiet Stars. And it's a real standard, probably number 2 to Girl from Ipanema in the Jobim hit top 5, top 10, top 40 Jobim playlist. And he recorded it a bunch of times, and a lot of people recorded it. I think it was written in 1960, according to Wikipedia, and I think it's recorded on an early Gilberto record. And then I guess probably most famously it's on the Getz Gilberto record where Astrid sings it, and also Gilberto sings it. And Joe Pass recorded it. A lot of jazz musicians, Joe Pass and Niels Henning Ørsted Patterson, did it on chops. And I'm actually going to spend most of the time today talking about my favorite version, which is from the record Elis and Tom, which is, man, probably one of the best albums ever made, in my humble opinion. I remember back in New Orleans, we used to talk about it at the Hot Club in New Orleans, me and Chris Cole and Todd Duke and Matt Rohde and everybody, Matt Johnson. There's so many people in that band. I could keep naming names and they'd all have been band members, but we used to talk about how that record should be preserved in like a museum where you just walk into a room and that record is playing, because the sound is incredible. The arrangements, I believe Cesar Camargo Mariano did the arrangements, or most of them are just genius. Elise's performance, Tom Jobim's performance, a lot of other people on the record. I don't want to name everybody, but you can't really change a note of that record to improve it. It's just pretty much perfect. But anyway, if you're playing this tune on a social gig or a jam session or something, I think the changes that are pretty common, people will play like A flat minor 6, Nights of Quiet Stars, A flat diminished with a E natural on top, like that kind of diminished major 7 sound, G minor 7, 2, 5 to F, and then sometimes you have this F diminished to F thing, although on the versions I listen to, or the Elis and Tom version, they actually have, it's really like F sharp 7 before F major, like a tritone set up. Ooh, it's getting rowdy out there in the hall. And then F minor, B flat 7, and then either E minor to A7, or like on the version I'm going to talk more about in a little bit, it's like an E7 sharp 9 with a little moving line. Like E7, A7, then D9, and then there's usually some little like cool extension. It's like D9, and Tom Jobim plays this chord, magical piano chord, that I don't think I've got all the notes of, but it's basically like a C major 7 sharp 5 with a little like little sprinkle of fairy dust on the top, and then D minor to kind of G7. But as we'll see, sometimes it's D minor to like maybe A flat major 7 on the Elis and Tom version, but kind of some kind of D minor G7. That's the first half, then back to A minor 6. Then it's sort of like A, B, A, C. So the C, you go to F minor again, to B flat 7, then E minor, sometimes when you're soloing become like an A7 sharp 9, then D minor, G7, E minor, or on the Elis and Tom version, sort of E7 altered, A7, D minor, G7, and then it's back to the top. So it's kind of an odd number of bars as well. But that's sort of the standard changes, I would think. it's funny, I was listening back, I was focusing most of my energy on the Elis and Tom arrangement because it's so intricate and so perfect, and every note is so important. I don't think I got all of them, but I got many of them. But I went back and listened to the Getz Gilberto version, and there's some interesting bass notes. I'm trying to figure out, like, what is the bass playing? So I don't know exactly. Sometimes there's some notes in between two notes, but I do know that during when Gilberto sings it, that first chord is kind of a D7, D9, and then the second chord, they're playing like a D flat 7 sharp 9. So it's kind of like the same upper structure but with a different bass note. And that's interesting because I spent a lot of time when I start talking about diminished chords here at UNT, I talk a lot about how Tom Jobim does that progression a lot. Like, it's in How Insensitive, it's in Corcovado, it's in, Zingaro, Retrato em Branco e Preto, where he plays a sort of a minor one chord, then a diminished down a half step, and then a minor a half step below that. I'd always talk about how it's sort of a backwards progression in the sense that when you're improvising on it, that second chord, A flat diminished, is kind of 5 of the A minor that just happened. And same thing in How Insensitive. You just kind of have to just make it go to the minor a half step below, even though functionally it sort of wants to go the other way. But when that chord becomes a D flat 7 sharp 9, I don't know, it's kind of a different ballgame, because then it actually is sort of 5 of the C7. But I don't know, maybe the bass player just, who knows what was going on. But I noticed too, when Joe Pass and Niels Henning Ørsted Pedersen play it, they kind of make the first chord a D7, or there's always like a D note in there. Maybe they try to learn it from the record, foolishly, but no, it's good to learn things from the record. But which record? So my favorite record, I want to talk a little bit about, I was listening to this earlier and I took some notes to try to write out everything, and I didn't get, I just don't have the time to knock out every little aspect of this arrangement, but my gosh, it's so beautiful, it's so perfect. I encourage you all to listen to it. So they start off with this little intro. This is Elis and Tom, 1973, 1974. It's a little sort of rubato intro. I didn't get all the melody notes. So it goes A minor 6 to A flat diminished. So that was harmonically A minor 6, A flat diminished, then the G minor, C7 flat 9, the F sharp 7, F major, and then an E7 sharp 9, and then there's this, they go to like a C major, but it's not really a chord, it's just a string arrangement with some different lines, kind of a C major 6. It's sort of like a D7 over C to like a G7, but it's not really, it's not a G7 in the sense of, but I think that's implied that it's kind of a C major 6, like there's a low C and an F sharp on the bottom, going to a B and an F, and that takes you to the A minor 6, so like D7, G7, A minor. And then Elis comes in and it's just Elis and guitar, but there's I don't know if it's cello, I can't remember, but there's a line, and throughout the whole arrangement there's the melody, there's the bass, and there's these counter lines that are so perfect and are kind of Tom Jobim's music has a lot of that, and that's why I was surprised, like reading up and realizing that Tom Jobim didn't do the arrangement on this according to the internet or whatever. So Cesar Camargo Mariano did a really amazing job of getting all the Jobim isms in there, because so she sings, and there's a line while she sings the melody, someone plays a C, and then there's a B on the A flat. So it's just guitar, this line, and her singing, then a B flat. And then an F sharp 7, and the counter line is like an A sharp to a natural on the F major, and then she goes up here. And this time the counterline is C, and it goes to D. And then when she goes, that part where some books have it written as A minor to A7. We have, she's going, try to get all this, she's doing that melody, and the chords are like an E7, and the counterline is like C sharp, C, B on the A7, and then this cool little contrary motion thing to get you to D7, so like a C sharp and a B flat going, the C sharp going down the C, and the B flat going to B for the D7 chord. She's still singing her part. You have that magic chord on the piano, and then on the D minor, the other note is like an A on top, and I think a C on the bottom. And then the next chord is very much like a not a G7, or it's like a what do you call it? D minor 7 flat 5, or an A flat major 7 sharp 11 or something that takes you back to sorry, I'm looking at my cheat sheet here, there's so much going on. And then you have this B flat minor 6 to A minor, and then she sings the next verse, and now this time it's piano accompanying her, and he has this little counter line where he plays that while she goes, and he plays that, and there's again F sharp sort of 9 and an A flat going to A, and then you have eu que era triste, descrente desse mundo. So as she's going down, there's this line going up, and yeah, contrary motion, y'all. It's I talk about it a lot. I try to achieve it in some of my own arrangements and compositions, but this is where it's at. So you get. Like a G7 sus. Eu conheci. So that deserves a little attention here. So she's singing. So she's stops for a second, and then there's this E7 sharp 9 thing, and there's two different things going on. Well, at least two. It's three actually with the bass. So you've got this. So E against C sharp, C, then an A in the bass against a B, and then C sharp and B flat, and then against that you have, let's say, and then again that sort of A flat major 7 sharp 11 D minor 7 flat 5 thing. And then you think, this is where this arrangement, I just realized this, it tricked me, because I thought, okay, they go back to A minor and there's this solo section, but they actually, from that A flat thing, they go to C, the key of C minor. They trick us, and I was thinking, like, you know, normally if it's an A flat diminished, you would say, okay, yeah, A flat diminished goes to A minor, and, you know, that family of diminished chords, it can also go to C minor. But he further sort of complicates it by making the A flat more of like a major 7 sound, or D minor 7 flat 5 is not quite dominant, it's sort of suspended, and then the cello and some other string does this, like B to C and D to E flat, and then there's a whole sort of solo section in this key of C minor, and then the magic chord. Excuse me, see what I mean? F9 and then they get back to A minor. And there's like a vocal solo. Pardon my singing. And this is the climax, y'all. So you get to the F minor, and she comes back in. Right, that's the melody. And Tom Jobim sings this ascending melody as she descends that is so brilliant, and I had to just figure it out. So the chord is F minor, and she starts on C. He starts on a low B flat, and it goes like this. So he goes up like an F melodic minor scale. And then the next chord, he starts on a C and goes, they go, is that right? I might have messed that up. Yeah, that's right, huh? They get real gnarly at the end. But so yeah, let me see if I can play both of these. It's not easy at all. And then and man, it's just like, it kills me every time. Just to hear the sound of their voices crossing like that, and then you have Ao encontrar você eu conheci, and then the same arrangement, but he sings that part down an octave along with the strings. And then one more thing, the ending. People always wonder how you're supposed to end this song. Sometimes they just vamp out on A minor, sometimes they vamp out on C. But if you check out this arrangement, the ending is like this. He sings that part. It goes A minor with that little figure in thirds, and then so it's like A minor 6 to A flat minor 6, and the little descending line is in thirds, it's A flat melodic minor. So and it fades out. So anyway, I know I took a lot of time on that, and I didn't get everything, but I felt like I had to talk about it and give a shout out to one of the greatest recordings, in my opinion, of all time. Elis and Tom, one of the great records, definitely in Brazilian popular music, I think in all popular music. And I'm going to play a few choruses on this tune, maybe more like you would play it in a jam session or on a gig, right? Unless you have a string quartet and Elis Regina and everybody else playing. So I hope you enjoy it, Corcovado, and go check out Elis and Tom, one of the greatest records of all time.